Welcome to the Kashmir Notebook, a special frontline broadcast with Gowhar Geelani. This is our 7th episode, and in this episode, we have a guest, Mr. Zuhaib Yousf Mir. He is a unionist politician. He bears allegiance to the People's Democratic Party and has views on some issues and some strong views. Welcome to the show, Zuhaib.
Thank you so much.
Zuhaib, first of all, a very personal question to begin with, that you are in the unionist camp. What made you join politics?
See, there are a lot of reasons for a youngster to join politics, but primarily for me, it was a while back I saw the dilapidated conditions of the hospitals in Kashmir when my grandfather was ill and we were taking him to the hospital. And that time, I thought to myself that something needs to be done for the healthcare. Not so much, I didn't have so much idea as to how to go about it. Mm-hmm. But later in life, what I realized is that that as much knowledge I was gaining, because I was studying for UPSC as well, that time I was really fascinated with the concept of federalism and how to protect the institutions of the country, and how protecting those institutions will also help sort of taking care of a lot of problems that we have in the society today, including the healthcare. And while I was doing all of that, it so happened that the very federal structure was sort of under attack when Article 370 in 2019 was abrogated. And I wanted to do something about it because I was very much inspired by the concept of federalism and how we need to protect identities in our country, because the country is a mosaic of beautiful cultures. So that sort of identity of this country needs to be protected. That secular, that pluralistic aspect of this country needs to be protected. And when I saw the same thing under attack when Article 2009 in Article 370 in 2019 was abrogated, I thought to myself that I need to do something about it, and that sort of goaded me towards joining politics, and here I am ever since.
So Zuhaib, another question would be, why the PDP? Why you joined the People's Democratic Party?
See, to be very honest with you, as soon as the leaders who were under siege after 2019 abrogation of Article 370, people who were under siege, who were incarcerated, leaders who were incarcerated, they were coming out. It was only Mehbooba ji at that point of time who said that we need to work to bring Article 370 back. It wasn't something that she said which was a sort of secessionist ideology. It was an idea where she actually said that we need to protect the federal character of this country, because see, our constitution recognizes federalism as the basic structure of the constitution. Also, our constitution recognizes asymmetric federalism also as a part of federalism. So what asymmetric federalism means is that if certain areas of the country require certain laws so that their ideas are protected, their culture is protected, their ecosystem is protected, ecology is protected.
States like Nagaland.
But I'll tell you, see, this is something. The concept of asymmetric federalism is very much acknowledged by the Constitution of India. So she spoke about this asymmetric federalism because when she came out and she said it without any hesitation, just like other leaders. So that drew me towards joining.
So let's take this conversation forward and talk about an important issue. You're aware that the National Conference government led by Mr. Omar Abdullah, who is at the helm right now as Chief Minister, this government has completed 1 year. So you are in the opposition camp, and all other opposition parties, including yours and the likes of the People's Conference or other parties, have taken a dig and been launched a scathing attack on the Umar-led government. What is your appraisal of the Umar-led government in this 1 year?
See, this government tale is a saga, rather a saga of, I think, surrender, disenchantment, inefficiency, and I could use a lot of pejorative adjectives. But why am I using such adjectives? Because it is the only government in the history of India which has run into anti-incumbency 2 months after coming into power. And the reason for it is that they promised a lot of things to the people of Jammu and Kashmir and did exactly the opposite of what they promised. And this is the story of Kashmir
politics. Are you referring
politics.
to the speeches during election campaigns or the manifesto itself?
I am not just talking about the manifesto. See, any government that formulates that comes into being has two mandates. Number one, it has a development mandate. Number two, it has a governance mandate. Development means that you have to make roads, bridges, you have to infrastructure, all of that. While as the government as of today on jobs, all of that. While as the government today is completely failing on that front, because by his own admission, he's saying that he's failing. But the part of the failure is, the reason for the failure is not just the reasons that he is attributing. It's his own inefficiencies as well.
Are you are you wanting to use the word incompetence?
Inefficiency, not incompetence. I think inefficiency. Yeah, inefficiency, incompetence, whatever you want to use. The second is that the governance part is not with him, but the governance part actually means where the politician becomes like a wall between the permanent bureaucracy and the people. Because usually the thought process of the permanent bureaucracy, be it the police, be it the administrative bureaucracy, is this, that they are somehow seen to be atrocious, and rather they do have some atrocious behavior towards the.
So let me stop you there. Let me stop you here because this is very relevant here. I was going through some statements and also some articles. One of the articles was written by Dr. Bashir Ahmad Veri, who is also an MLA, Member of Legislative Assembly from Sri Gufwara, Bijbihara, from South Kashmir constituency. And he wrote a piece in a local newspaper. And then there was a statement by Provincial President of the National Conference, Mr. Advocate Shaukat Mir. So Shaukat Mir, his statement said that since the Omar-led, government took over last year in October, the excessive bureaucracy, red tapeism has ended, because you talked about bureaucracy. So how do you see this statement? And second part of my question is that Dr. Bashir Veri in his article argued that, okay, the statehood has not returned, or the special status has not returned, or there has not been the rationalization of reservation policy, and political detainees have not been released, or the Public Safety Act, stringent Public Safety Act, has not been revoked. But he listed, he lists a number of things that he claims that the National Conference has actually achieved, which are primarily in social welfare department. And he also mentions in the article about the resolutions that were passed in the State Legislative Assembly and also in the Cabinet, and also talks about the subcommittee on reservation and this, free bus rides for women, and raising the, marriage fund for some families. So how do you see these, counter arguments from the National Conference?
See, first of all, the two arguments are at odds with each other. And Umar Saab says that nothing is happening. Rather, he berated in one of the speeches, I guess, he berated one of his MLAs that if the BDOs are doing everything that you're telling them to do, then why are you telling me the opposite, obverse of what's happening on ground? So that is a clarification you have to take from him. However, what I was trying to propound here is that whenever a population gives vote, an elected government is formulated, it comes into being for two things. As I told you, one is the development aspect that you were talking about, where roads, bridges, all of that have to be created, and all of that infrastructure has to be created. Second is the governance part. The governance part, as I was talking about, means that the politician has to be a wall between the permanent bureaucracy and the people, where there are excesses by the permanent bureaucracy. So he has to stop it. The job of the government is not just to provide jobs, infrastructure. It also has to do that kind of governance. Here we know already he does not possess those rights, or rather it is not within his domain to take care of the governance
Law
part.
and order, for example.
Yeah, law and order is one of the good examples. However, we also expected him to fight for this governance, fight for his rights, fight for keeping the PSA away. You're talking about, you just spoke about the resolutions being passed. But what exactly happened after passing of those resolutions? He became more timid, he became more subservient, he became more, I would say, he surrendered more. I really don't know how exactly is passing of a resolution and his capitulation, when you juxtapose both of them, it's you see a very dismal picture, and this is something that creates a sort of emotional defeat within the people of Jammu and Kashmir as well. Drawing from this, now you talk about the dismal condition of development. As you just rightly pointed out, there were certain positives as well. For example, let's say
Social welfare.
Social welfare. There was
And
this.
there also
this particular.
sorry, I will forget this. They were also mentioning about the academic calendar being restored to October in the education sector.
But on the contrary, 13th of July was not given.
Or Omar Abdullah.
Yeah, exactly. We were not able to get that as a holiday in our.
Why I'm saying this thing, you would
in our calendar
a little bit odd, is because I'm just trying to give the other perspective as well.
Yeah.
So I would speak to the National Conference spokesperson, who is the national spokesperson, state spokesperson rather, and he listed all these things. He mentioned to me when we did an analytical piece on Omar Abdullah's 1 year of governance, and he said that that the NC passed resolution, NC passed, formed a subcommittee on reservation, and they also did something for women, for example, the free bus rides in the state road transported.
The bus ride,
and also the last thing they mentioned was that the education academic calendar has been restored to its October session. So if this is and they also said that you should give them 5 years. You cannot judge a government just because 1 year has passed. They have 5 years to complete the promises that were made in the manifesto.
See, there's an idiom in English, we call it coming events cast their shadow before. In the first year, as I told you, is a saga of capitulation, inefficiency, incompetence, and all the pejorative words adjectives as I said. So if the first year usually is full of enthusiasm, is full of you want to do a lot of things, he has demonstrated complete capitulation in that. Second, as you spoke about this, I'll tell you what the ground situation is, because I speak to a lot of people on a daily basis. I'll tell you what the ground situation is. There are two things that are hurting me the most. In fact, rather three things I would say. Number one, there was a female I met the other day. I was actually praising Umar Saab's decision of making these bus rides completely free. She told me, I told her that now you can go wherever you want, and you don't have to pay anything, and you can even go, if you find these vegetables very expensive in your local market, you can go to some other market and you can get cheaper vegetables from there. A free bus ride. She said, yes, you're absolutely right. I completely agree with you. But when I have to go from here to the other market, the price of the vegetables is almost the same. Rather, it varies from place to place slightly, but it's generally the prices are the same. One. Second, when I come back, I see my son, who is a PhD scholar and who has just finished he's a MSc. Yeah, he's finished his master's in economics, and I see him waking up at 11 o'clock. What do? I have a sister. I have a cousin sister.
Unemployment.
I have a cousin sister. She said it. I have a cousin sister whose son was being taken away just a while back and was slapped with a PSA, and he's now in Kot Balwal jail. And a while back, he has served, I think, the 3-year sentence. But again, he's been taken post Baisiran. And a lot of people were taken post Baisiran for the sake of head count. And, we very well know this. This is an open sort of secret. So she speaks about all of these things. Where did Umar Saab exactly provide solution for these problems? You know, in my constituency, post Baisaran, at least 15 people were taken. One of them was slapped with a PSA. And just for the sake of outcome, he has already served a sentence earlier. That was a guy, he was a guy, his name is Naeem Khan. He is a guy I tried to get into the fold of democracy. Now, he's all again, and he was about to get married in September. Nobody speaks about them. Even the incumbent MLA of this area, he doesn't speak about it. Nobody speaks about it. Where exactly have they spoken about vehemently about PSAs being slapped across the people in J&K?
See,
so this is
Zuhaib,
this is, and on the contrary, when you see, he's been selected as the mascot for marathon in the entire country. Over there, the bonhomie is perfectly all right. He wants to have individual relations with the prime minister and the union ministers, all of that to be perfect. But when it is about execution of the work in Jammu and Kashmir, or rather, if not execution, at least fighting for it, he takes a back seat, which is completely reprehensible. And people of Jammu and Kashmir did not vote him in for this silent capitulation. You cannot be handed over everything. See, the good part about Arvind, I don't subscribe to a lot of things that Arvind Kejriwal said or he does, but the good part about his sort of governance was that at least he was, whenever there was a fight between, or whenever he was at loggerheads with the LG there in Delhi, he used to do a dharna, a Syrian chief minister doing a dharna on ground. So that was a sort of, that is something that keeps the people high spirited. He has made us accept this emotional defeat.
Let me get back to you. Like in 2002 elections, the PDP got 16 seats and formed the government with the Congress.
Yeah.
And in the subsequent election in 2008, you actually jumped from 16 to 21, did slightly better. And then 2014, when you had 28 seats, you almost swept the Kashmir Valley and then joined hands with the BJP.
Yeah.
So now in the latest elections, which happened in 2024, you have come back to 3 seats. So first, what happened from 16, 21, 28 to 3? And second, when I interviewed Mufti Muhammad Saeed when he became the chief minister in 2015, and he told me that the PDP-BJP coalition is actually a paradigm shift. This is the phrase that he used, that it could be a paradigm shift in Kashmir politics.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 years later, his own son, Tasadduq Mufti, told the Indian Express that this partnership was a partnership in crime. So when you, for example, accuse, not you in person, but the party, when party accuses Omar Abdullah of having a personal bonhomie or good relationship with the BJP, but if we look at the PDP-BJP coalition, what it has done to Jammu and Kashmir. So how do you see this first, fall from 28 seats to 3? And is there some hope for you to recover ground? And second, what are your views about this paradigm shift and partnership in crime? What is your view? Was it a paradigm shift or a partnership in crime?
I would rather say this my suggestion would be that Umar Saab should take clue from what the BJP did to PDP when they did not agree to implement the BJP's ideological plank in Kashmir. What they did to PDP, he should have taken a clue from us and rather not capitulating, or rather not requesting the tyrant for democracy. He is requesting, which tyrant in the world would give you democracy on request? There is complete contravention in his stance and the actions that followed. Earlier, he said something else. His member of parliament,
without using the words, actually you're saying that PDP has done certain mistakes in the past.
I am saying that the calculation with which we joined hand with the BJP, ultimately BJP was not forthright with their part of the bargain. From their side, they were not
the agenda of alliance.
The agenda of alliance. We made them sign document not touch Article 370. They will speak to Hurriyat. And all of this, we were very much...
The exact line was that the constitutional status of Jammu and Kashmir was not
Exactly. I'm sure you have done your research pretty well. Amazing. However, we made them sign that document. But eventually, when it came to actually implementing that plan, and they had their nefarious design, we didn't allow them to do that. And they were going back on their word. They reneged going back on the... They reneged implementing the...
So as a consequence,
the agenda of alliance. So as a consequence, we could find out that they were never forthright with this agenda of alliance. They never wanted to implement it. So therefore, they did what they did. So what they eventually did was, first they broke the government, then they broke PDP, and only then they were able to break...
In the aftermath of the Kathua incident, when two ministers...
two ministers, they didn't resign. They were dropped. They were forced to resign. Mehbooba did that. 12,000 FIRs were taken back. So the governance structure was at least strong.
One important thing I want to ask. Right now, the PDP is talking about civil rights, civil liberties, revoking Public Safety Act and other things, media rights you're talking about. All your leaders are talking about certain things. So if I jog your memory and take you back to 2016, it was actually the PDP government which actually banned the newspaper Kashmir Reader. It arrested a top human rights defender, Khurram Parvez. It went after journalists. And it also has in its record the 2016 horror of pellet horror, which the New York Times described as an epidemic of eye. So the track record is not very good.
See,
and what is wrong in apologizing? This is my question that I wanted to ask you. If there have been mistakes, if there were certain statements made, or if there was something done which in the hindsight, after reflection now, you think was not good, what is problem in politics in offering an unconditional apology rather than justifying the unjustifiable or defending the indefensible?
Nobody is justifying the casualties that happened. As you said, you use the very strenuous term, epidemic of the eye.
That was the New York Times.
Yeah, exactly. I read that article too. But I am just simply saying this, that nobody is saying that all of that was not wrong. But you also have to understand that there are times when the government, which I totally believe in, that there are times when the government has to take some strict measures to curb a law and order situation. However, no doubt about the fact that there were excesses that have happened. But at the same time, you also have to understand that there were a lot of people and at the behest of a lot of agencies which were trying to destabilize the PDP's government at that point of time. You have to understand that. And they didn't want the government to be functioning in a smooth manner. Yes, of course, if you want me to furnish an unconditional apology for what happened, I would say, I will furnish one.
Because
I will furnish one for
go to people, like when we cover a lot of things in Kashmir. So this is one of the things that keeps coming back. There is a reference to the statement made by Mehbooba Mufti at that time, which I don't want to repeat that, toffee and this remark. And this thing, that how it justifies still the alliance.
All that I'm trying to tell you is that if you want me to be apologetic for the intent of that alliance, I will not be, because our intent was that there should be no regional divide
for the alliance. I'm saying this. Civilian.
Let me answer.
And
if you want me to apologize for the intent of that alliance, I am not going to furnish one, because the intent of that alliance was absolutely puritanical. It was we wanted that Jammu and Kashmir should flourish, development should happen. Post floods, there was a lot of devastation. Our economy should recuperate, all of that. But if you want me to apologize for the excesses, which is that is something that, of course, any government, in hindsight, when you see, if there are excesses that have happened during the
blinding youth,
a lot of things, of course, one has to be apologetic for it. Just like every brand of leadership in Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, whosoever it is, when it comes to power, should be apologetic for what happened to the Kashmiri Pandits in 89, 90 and 91. we should be absolutely apologetic for all the wrongs that have happened. And equally, we should be apologetic for the fact that a lot of times, and I mean, government of India should be apologetic for it, because a lot of time, a lot of confidence building measures that were on the way, they were being broken.
So two last questions. One is about your own experience as a young leader. How do you see the future of the PDP? Because you go and meet a lot of people. As you said, that there's a lot of anti-incumbency against the Omar Abdullah government. So what are your chances of revival of your party?
See, I'll tell you something.
And second,
I'll tell you, as far as the whole concept of revival of our party is concerned, that is something that we need to work on. But let me just be very honest with you and hand on my heart that Omar Abdullah's government's base is eroding like anything. And all of these people who are being eroded from the national conference are going into an independent pool of people. But how much is the PDP able to galvanize them towards themselves will be dependent on what all decisions will PDP take, and how the organizational structure will be revamped, how our narrative will be consistent, and how we will be aligning to the core principles of our formulation. When we came into power, when we formulated PDP, we had some core principles that we need to give healing touch to the people. We need to start speaking to all shades of people whosoever has any stake in Kashmir problem. We need to speak about that. We need to speak about the youth being completely disenchanted. We need to speak about these things. And as much as you are close to this core values, core principles of the PDP, I think we'll flourish.
Okay, so now last two parts. One is about this, a lot of people have been arrested in India, in many parts of India, on this I Love Prophet campaign. So what is your view on this? And the last question would be that PDP as a political party, as you said, you refer to joint mechanism or this healing touch policy, or the self-rule, for example, which is your document. PDP has been kind of, it has criticized the other ideological groups which are not in the unionist camp of being not pragmatic and not achieving anything in the last 35 years, in particular from 87 onwards. So, but the counter question that is being asked is, what have the unionists achieved since 1947? Because whatever the relationship was,
that's actually a very good question.
What you call the federal structure. So whatever guarantees you had, sought, what is, the reality after 2019 in the new political landscape? So what has the unionist camp actually achieved by being pragmatic?
So which one do you want me to answer first? The first one or the second one?
So you can talk about the Prophet Muhammad campaign. Yeah.
See, I may get a lot of flack for this. I might be a subject of censure for this. But I think this I Love Muhammad campaign I don't think Muslims should do this. I mean, when you are wearing your religion on your sleeves, that's not a very good thing to do. Because in the similar vein, when the other side will say similar stuff and they have a campaign for Jai Shri Ram, belligerent campaigns, you must have seen during the Ram Navami processions, they used to go up on the gumbad of the masjid and then chant Jai Shri Ram when the mob goes out of control. So in the similar vein, your religion should be completely your business. It should be a private affair. I don't believe in wearing the religion on your sleeves. And also one more thing, that when you tear down eventually those posters that you put across, when you tear them down, you have to eventually, they trample on it, they walk on it eventually. That's also
sacrilege.
That's also sacrilegious, right? So that is something that I don't subscribe to. You should be proud of who you are, whatever your identity is, but don't wear it on your sleeves. But, however, this is just a symptom of a problem. What is a problem? You have to understand the Muslim peripherization and exclusion in the entire country from the last 7 decades. You see judiciary. You take into consideration judiciary, we have one judge out of 34 in the Supreme Court who is a Muslim. There are 645 odd judges in the entire high courts, and only I think perhaps 25 are Muslims.
Yeah, things have actually gotten worse after the Sajjad committee report.
Listen. 25 are Muslim across the high courts. 685 judges, out of them 25 are Muslims. That means not more than 3.5%. Then you take into consideration the high courts. 17 of our high courts in the entire country do not possess a Muslim judge. This is judiciary. You take into consideration administration. From last 7 decades, from 50 to 2020, 1950 to 2020, only I think around 511 people were selected to become IAS officers out of 11,500 people who got selected. So only 511 Muslim IAS officers. When you see the numbers for the same decade, for the same 7 decades, in IPS, 151 out of 4,500 were Muslims. This is then administration. The dismal picture. The dismal picture there is.
What I thought, I was speaking to someone in Ladakh, and there's a similar kind of sentiment over there as well right now. And some of them are calling it Zorawar 2. Because in their administration bureaucracy, no one is from Ladakh. I mean, hardly any people from Ladakh.
That's true. In the same manner, this is I spoke about judiciary, I spoke about administration. Now you take into cognizance the political representation. We have just 24 MPs, one of the lowest. This 18th Lok Sabha has 24 MPs out of 545 to be Muslims. That's how much? Hardly 4.4%. This is the lowest in the history of India till this point of time. So when you see all of this peripherization and exclusion,
lack of representation,
what exactly do you ultimately get? See, the concept, the problem with the North India is the interaction of Islam with South India and North India has been completely different. The North India, you have seen a lot of riots, and eventually what happens is when riots happen, Muslims tend to ghettoize. So they go into those ghettos just for the sake of safety, and you know how dismal the condition of those ghettos are. And that is why Sachar committee report, Ranganath Mishra committee report said that we need to give 10% reservation to Muslims. Adding to this, ever since this Ram Mandir movement that happened in the 80s, till that point of time, at least the Muslim representation in the parliament was, I think, concomitant. I think it was almost equivalent to the proportion of the population. 9% representation to the Lok Sabha as against 11% of their population.
I got your point.
Completely listen to me. See, there is a double whammy there. You have to understand the double whammy. What happened is when the Ram Mandir movement started, of course, the Hindu side got slightly more belligerent. BJP did not give any seats to the Muslim, of course. And the same time, when you see the other parties as well, be it the Congress, BSP, SP, all of them, the local parties, they also, in the rest of the country, they also started having doubts, reluctance in giving them seats because of the charged atmosphere. So when you have no representation in politics, judiciary, administration, what exactly are you trying to achieve? And ultimately what BJP tries to tell us that this is because Muslims are on the margins of the society because most of them go to madrasas. So the truth of the fact of the matter is that only 4% of the population goes to madrasa. Muslim kids go to madrasa.
My small intervention was about, it was not only in the north, part of India, but there has been a pogrom in Gujarat. So anyway, but my last question, which I said, you have been in the unionist.
I was just talking about the I Love Muhammad campaign. This is just a symptom of the problem, which is peripherization and exclusion of Muslims. That should not happen.
Or lack of representation.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, when you talk about the
by being pragmatic,
what have we achieved? See,
you have actually you have actually lost the post of Sadr Riyasat.
Of course,
you have lost the constitution, separate flag, and also the special status and statehood.
But you also have to realize
what is I'm saying what is that attraction in unionist politics that when you've lost everything?
That's what I'm saying. The attraction, you don't just have to see the attraction. I am saying that we need to fix things. And how we are going to fix things? I've been quite critical of this fact that ever since 1950s till this point of time, we have just lost. Every time we formulated a government, we lost a part of our autonomy, which ultimately culminated in 2019 where we lost everything. So this is wrong, absolutely wrong. That is why there is a huge distrust between Srinagar and Delhi, let alone, I mean, keep aside the trust between Delhi and Pakistan that you can do on your own. But at least what is in your hands, you can bridge that. And I've been advocating that because I'm to be very honest with you, I'm a pure Democrat. I believe that we have other versions of governing the society, but they are more flawed. Even democracy is flawed, but they are more flawed than democracy. So democracy, in my opinion, with all its flaws, is the best version how you can govern the society. That's one thing. Second is that, and we need to work hard towards this because every time there is going to be a argument and a counter argument, we need to keep fighting for it. And that is why I want to appeal to all the political parties as someone who's a young politician. I want to appeal all political parties. Kindly do not sort of don't 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 downgrade the level of the debate that's happening. We need to consolidate. We need to fight for our rights in a consolidated manner, because if at all we are divided, we'll never be able to achieve what we want. This is one. Second, this is the only movement, or rather I would say this is the only the movement that happened post 89. The struggle that happened after 89, people picked up guns. This is the only movement that now we see that this movement also did not yield anything. What did it yield after 30 years of struggle, after 1.5 lakh people being killed? What did it ultimately yield? Nothing. That also did not yield anything. And we have people who are disenchanted with the unionists, and even equally with the separatists and secessionists. So what we need to realize is that we need to come together as people at Kashmiris. By Kashmir, I say Kashmiris. I also refer to Dogras, Kashmiri Pandits, Kashmiris, Ladakhis, everybody. And we need to protect this part of the world. And it's a very beautiful part of the world which needs to be protected. And there is a lot of scope, as Vajpayee ji said, that there is a lot of scope for all the solutions for Jammu and Kashmir within the ambit of the constitution. And I hope we are able to garner that for ourselves by being consolidated, by being one people.
Thank you, Mr. Zuhaib, for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
So this was Zuhaib Yousf Mir, and I hope you liked the interview. Thank you very much for watching.